going to go ahead and call the Education Committee meeting to order. Annette will not be here this evening. She didn't bother to tell me why, but she's not going to be here.
She told me why.
Told me why.
Her grandson.
That's not what she told me.
Anyway, we do have a set of minutes for August the 5th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve August 5th minutes. Is there any questions or concerns? Comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You're up.
I got some handouts.
We love handouts. I just get those in school.
How many for the meetings here tonight? For anybody can have a copy.
There's 6 members here and I need one.
I've got plenty of. Yep, 2 each. There's 2. You'll just pass them around. There's 2. Just keep. Yeah, just get that. That's one set right there. What you got?
Give him one more.
Anybody else need one? Good. Mr. Luttrell should be here any minute, but we have 2 budget amendments that our school board passed last night. We'll just go in order of numbers. So the first one is going to be a budget amendment 2022-03. This budget amendment does 2 things. And if you flip to that second page, there's a space in between each one. The first part of that is we had an additional grant. That was a Dale grant that Dale gave us for our instructional technology department. That books the revenue, then also allows us to spend that money in those expense accounts. The second part of that budget amendment is we're eliminating a deputy director position. So we're doing away, abolishing that position, and then we're shifting a portion of that money, a very small portion, to the remaining 4 deputy directors that we shifted the responsibilities to. So we don't plan on filling that. That'll be abolished, and that's what that budget amendment does. Any questions on that one?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second to approve budget amendment 2203. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next.
The next one is going to be Budget Amendment 2022-04. The reason this doesn't have a memo with it is it was passed last night under new business. And what this one does is we were granted additional, as all school districts were, additional USDA reimbursement money for each meal. Each meal is still free this year. And so we're choosing to pass that on in form of a 5% raise to our food service and cafeteria personnel to try to help retain them. Right now we have 20 to 30 open positions, and we have actual central office employees serving food in the cafeteria, parents. So we're hoping this helps us try to retain some employees and hire some additional food service employees.
Do we have, what do you normally pay them? Do you have a pay scale?
So our starting pay currently right now is between $10 and $10.50 an hour. This would move the starting pay to approximately $11 an hour for a starting cafeteria employee.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second to approve budget amendment 2022-04. Any questions or concerns?
Just one, how many hours a day do they normally work?
The answer is it depends. We have some full-time staff. We have some that come in and just work an hour to 2 hours. We have volunteers. Like I said, we have parents that'll come in and work an hour. And then we have some volunteers who want to work 4 hours. So it really just depends. This will be a mix. This would change the pay scale as well as not just the raise. So this would go to part-time personnel and full-time personnel for our food service.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the Education Committee?
Just one other question. I didn't go to the school board. Can you brief us on the masking things now? What's going on with the masks?
Yes. So last night our school board voted in place a mask requirement. However, pursuant to Governor Lee's Order Executive 84, I think it's 84, 84. There is an opt-out clause for all students. We have, the school board voted to take that a step further. There's also an opt-out clause for all staff. That also extends, we've reached out to our substitutes, which are not employed by us. And we've also reached out to the sheriff's office and communicated that with them. That's going to be up to their respective leadership at those organizations. But we have granted them permission to do an opt-out as well.
What would parents have to do to opt out?
So in Skyward, as of 3 p.m. this day, we should have a form ready for parents to go in there and simply check yes, opt out. I don't believe you have to give any reason other than just opt out.
It's a simple, one click, and then that will be in Skyward. It'll be, a teacher will look, if a kid has an X beside it, they've opted out, so there'll be no confrontation, there'll be no conversation, they've opted out.
What about the vaccines?
What about it?
I just heard President Biden today said he's gonna mandate vaccines for many, many people. And I don't know if he can do that in this state or not, but
I don't think that will include the schools because we're not classified as a federal government employee.
that's what.
That's,
Jeff, what he's referring to is there is 100 employees or more. That doesn't include just federal government employees.
Oh, I
Includes
did not see that.
corporations, it includes, it's going to be administered through OSHA.
but I thought that was private industry.
That-
And I've not had a chance
that's
to
what
look
I
at
thought
it.
was too, but I don't know.
What I read, that what he didn't say about schools was increased testing and opening up some money to provide some money for testing, free testing for schools.
Now, what about testing for antibodies? Is that a possibility? I know we test for the virus. Many people have had the virus and they've recovered,
Right.
and they have antibodies, and sometimes they're more protected than me, and I've had both shots.
Yeah, I've not had any conversation in regard to testing at this point,
Okay, very good, thank you.
but I'm sure we will look into that. And I will share that I know in Kentucky, there's some schools testing regularly to try to prevent the spread of having kids in their schools. So I don't know if that's what he was referring to, but I did briefly just left my HR director, and we talked briefly. Of course, we want to see more of what that means. I was under the impression that it was federal government employees and then some private industries, but you know how a lot of these things are. Tomorrow there'll be more realization of what was really in the executive order.
Snowball that.
Is there any other questions or comments for our director? One
Thank you
other,
both for your service out there.
I'd like to
Appreciate
say last night that I was listening to all that, and I'd like to tell you that with everything that you went through last night, y'all absolutely did a phenomenal job of handling everything that y'all handled last night. I know that's very, very difficult to listen to all that and all the folks and the children that get up and act like they do, and that's horrible for me to watch, because to me, that's an example of your home life. So that bothers me really bad, but I just want to applaud you and your staff for what y'all, the board, what you did last night.
Well, we live in a very divided world right now, and I think we have to acknowledge that. But I think it's still very important that we continue business and keep focused on students, and that's what we're trying to do every day. So thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion and a second to adjourn. Thank you very much.